Good morning. Welcome to the Planning Hearing Officer hearing for September 25th, 2024. My name is Cassandra Pruitt, and I will be conducting the hearing as hearing officer. I will now read to you some important information about the hearing. The Planning Hearing Officer meeting is being broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable Channel 6 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city's webpage at glendaleca.gov/live, at youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices using a free app called Cablecast and then choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city's website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting the questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. This morning we have one case involving a discretionary permit application, and the hearing will proceed as follows. First, I will read the description of the application request. Then I will read the reports received from other city departments and other letters or communications from interested parties. Then the case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give an analysis, and make a recommendation. Next, the applicant will be called up or connected by telephone stating their name and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Then others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties who are present at the hearing will be called upon to give comments, stating their name and speaking within a 3-minute time limit. After in-person commenters speak, then callers on hold will be connected to share their comments within a 3-minute time limit. The applicant will then be given the opportunity to make closing comments within a 5-minute time limit in response to any testimonies given. Lastly, the hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the required findings set forth in the Glendale Municipal Code, then the project can either be approved or approved with conditions, and if the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses, and who have provided their name and contact information. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Records of decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division's website. Under the appeal provisions of the Glendale Municipal Code, Title 30, Chapter 30.62, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal must file online using the city's permit portal. For any additional information regarding the appeal process and submittal, please contact the case planner. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property. Public notices were also physically posted on the site in question and placed in the local newspaper. These official proceedings of the Planning Hearing Officer's hearing are being televised live and may be viewed online on the city's website. We will now begin the hearing. The case number is PVAR 003-201-2024. The project address is 201 North Brand Boulevard, Unit B100. The applicant's name is Michael J. Gonzalez Matsuda with Martial Arts History Museum. And the project description is that the applicant requests a standards variance to allow a new projecting sign for the museum in a subterranean tenant space at an existing historic commercial building. The code requires that projecting signs only be allowed on ground floor occupancies of the building, and the applicant requests to allow a new projecting sign for this occupancy that is not on the ground floor of the building. There is a comment in the staff report from the historic preservation planner regarding the locating of the sign in order to preserve the historic resource. And I believe that's been included as a recommended condition of approval. And there's a comment from the Public Works Department that the sign doesn't create any issues in terms of traffic visibility and what have you. As far as I understand, there were no public comment letters received prior to the hearing. And I will now call on the case planner, who will provide a brief overview of the case. Mr. Lamberg.
Thank you, Planning Hearing Officer Pruitt. Good morning, members of the public. My name is Alan Lamberg. I am the case planner for this project. Again, the application under consideration is a variance from zoning standards to allow one new projecting sign for a new cultural arts center and museum as a subterranean level occupant without ground floor occupancy, located at 201 North Brand Boulevard. The case number is PVAR 003-201-2024. The applicant requests a standards variance to allow a new projecting sign for a recently relocated Cultural Art Center and Museum, which is the Martial Arts History Museum, in a subterranean tenant space at an existing historic commercial building. The sign, a maximum of 12 square feet in area, is planned on the east elevation facing Brand Boulevard, about 30 feet from the interior property line, and more than 10 feet away from other projecting signs projecting above the entrance to the subterranean level that leads to the establishment. The variance request is to allow a projecting sign for a subterranean level occupant where code only allows a projecting sign for ground level occupancy. The variance request would entitle this project, which qualifies as a Class 11 accessory structures categorical exemption, as the project proposes construction of one new on-premises projecting sign. The subject project is located on the northwest corner of Brand Boulevard and Wilson Avenue in the DSP AT, which is the Downtown Specific Plan Alex Theater Zone District. This is the Woolworth Building, a multi-tenant two-story commercial building with frontage and a subterranean level. Here we see the existing conditions of the exterior facades on Brand and Wilson. This is Brand Avenue here, Brand Boulevard here, and Wilson Avenue here. Here we see the site plan with the proposed project, where the projecting sign is proposed on the Brand Boulevard elevation. And here we see elevations with existing conditions of the project. Just for clarification for those looking at the presentation, in blue at the very top is the proposed signage, and then in black ink, black letters is the existing signage, which includes wall signs, window signs, and some projecting signs for existing tenants, most of which have ground floor occupancy. The applicant is not proposing any other changes to the exterior, as it will remain as it exists with no new added floor area. And now the current planning division found that several permitted signs, including the proposed projecting sign, deviate from the specifications in a sign program that was adopted in the year 2000. A newer or revised sign program will be required to maintain compliance with the zoning code. Basically, a sign program is a way to permit signs for buildings with multiple tenants. In the subterranean level, the building has multiple tenant spaces with ground floor occupancy and store. Now, yeah, on the main level, the first and second, so the first floor is ground floor occupancy with storefront access. And so the Cultural Arts Center and Museum established at its current location in the subterranean level in April 2024 to Unit B100, which is a 7,600 square foot subterranean tenant space with no ground floor occupancy, meaning it's not accessed from the street. But it is accessed from a nondescript door at Brand Boulevard, and then downstairs through a corridor or from the Wilson Avenue lobby, either downstairs or the elevator. This tenant is among 3 known tenants in the subterranean level, the others being a law firm and another being a retail warehouse. Yeah. The Glendale principal planner for historic preservation commented that the installation of the location as proposed would have a negative impact on the design of the historic building. So as you see on the exhibit here, the bottom of the projecting sign would, on this mock-up, suggest putting it on that course band. So as a condition of approval, the projecting sign shall be correctly installed at the flat stucco portion of the facade that is above the first floor, above the decorative horizontal band course. This will prevent it from obscuring one of the building's character-defining features. And also for clarification, in the mock-up, the sign as proposed in the mock-up was originally exceeding the 12 feet square feet area. So in order to comply with that limitation of the 12 feet square foot area, that the sign will actually be smaller than what we see on the picture here. It'll be more in proportions of the bakery cafe sign that exists now. So as for findings of fact, the staff report demonstrates that of the 4 required findings of fact for a variance have been made for the project. For finding of fact A, which strictly applying the rules of the ordinance would cause practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship, which goes against the ordinance's overall purpose and intent. In this case, the Cultural Arts Center and Museum seeks a variance to install a projecting sign for its subterranean location, as current regulations only allow signs for ground floor businesses. For finding of fact B, that there are unique circumstances or conditions specific to the property or its intended use or development that do not generally apply to other properties in the same zone or neighborhood. In this case, the property's unique subterranean location and access issues justify the variance, as these conditions do not generally apply to other properties in the same zone district with ground floor public assembly uses. For finding of fact C, granting the variance which will not significantly harm public welfare or damage the property or improvements in the zone or neighborhood where the property is located. In this case, the sign will direct customers with a visual cue, complement the historic building, be modest in size, and be safely installed. Similar variances have not caused issues, ensuring no negative impact on the neighborhood. For finding of fact D, that the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. In this case, permitting the projecting sign aligns with the city's sign regulations, enhancing visibility for the Cultural Arts Center and Museum in a subterranean location. This supports the ordinance's objectives by fostering an attractive business climate and ensuring safety without negatively impacting the community. So no public comments were received regarding this case, and the other city department's comments included recommendations of standard conditions of approval, which are imposed on similar projects, among the special considerations that we have discussed here today. Given all of the information presented here and in the staff report, and with the recommended conditions of approval, the staff recommends that the variance be approved. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. I actually do have a couple questions for you. You mentioned that there's some signs on site that deviate from the approved sign program. Can you give me a little more information about that?
Yes, Planning Hearing Officer Pruitt. On the exhibit here, on the elevations, there exists a sign program that was adopted in the year 2000, which actually was before the current sign code ordinance was in effect. The current sign code ordinance was adopted in the year 2004. So the sign program for this property specifies location, type of sign, and then some design considerations like font, typeface. The key difference between what was the sign program of the year 2000 and the signs that exist today is that the sign program that was adopted in the year 2000 does not provide for projecting signs. It provides for channel letter, it provides for window signs, but it doesn't provide for projecting signs. But over the course of time, some of the projecting signs, such as for the halal restaurant, the bakery, those are projecting signs that have since been permitted because the staff in the past had exercised their discretion, but did not. But it had the effect of deviating from the sign program. But in those cases, those two businesses had ground floor occupancy, which is why they did not require a variance.
Okay, thank you. So do we know roughly how many signs, existing signs and/or tenants are out of compliance with the sign program, just ballpark?
By my estimation, 2 projecting signs that exist today, and then there might be the design, the typeface considerations might need to be updated because much of the current signage reflects the general branding of the businesses without much consideration of the original sign program. But generally, it's just the projecting signs that exist and just the typeface and perhaps some locations that were identified or reserved for the businesses today.
Okay. So there, in the staff report, there's a recommended condition that the applicant and/or owner remedy that basically by applying for a new sign program application.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would like to now call on the applicant, Michael Matsuda. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here. Thank you, Alan. Greetings, my name is Michael Matsuda, and I am the president and founder of the Martial Arts History Museum, a cultural and historical educational facility that was established in 1999 and has relocated from the city of Burbank to this great city of Glendale. This year marks our 25th year in operation. The museum is located on a subterranean level on Brand Boulevard, and I'm here to request a standards variance to allow the installation of a sign so that others can find and enjoy the benefits of the museum. Late last year, the museum was able to find a large enough location in Glendale to help relocate the museum here. We spent nearly 2 decades in Burbank in a rather small location, and we needed to find a larger place to grow. Our place was only 1,600 square feet in Burbank, and we packed the place out, and we were having growing pains. Through the years, we have had a benefit. We've been able to be a benefit to the city of Burbank. In addition to being an educational museum where kids can visit and learn about Asian and American history, the museum was able to service the community with a variety of unique charitable programs that we believe was a tremendous asset to the city. From gathering uniforms for those who could not afford them to holding free classes for those who lost their jobs and were looking to find a new line of work. We also held anti-bullying workshops and women's empowerment groups. We feel having a museum should not only be a place where people can visit, but a place where people can gather, grow, and become inspired and serving the neighborhood community. In Burbank, since we had a ground floor location, we had a large sign on the front, and people were able to find us without any difficulty. Here in Glendale, even though we are now 4 times the size we were from our old facility, our presence here is becoming unnoticed. We lack visibility, which lacks patrons' access, thereby putting in jeopardy not only our growth, but our sustainability. A sign that is in full compliance with the city standards in both design and size, I feel will enhance the culture of the artistic Alex Theater climate, which is considered the arts and theater district of the city. In fact, we are directly across the street from the Alex Theater. Having a sign located over the door on Brand Boulevard will not only help us move forward, but will enhance the city by providing a third museum for tourists and visitors to enjoy. This includes the Armenian Museum, the Neum Museum, and now the Martial Arts History Museum. Although we use several forms of media, including social media, press releases, mass emails, and more, people are still having a great deal of time locating us. We don't have that presence where people can find us. Glendale is now our home, and I want it to remain here. Having your approval of this variance will enable us to not only establish an additional tourist attraction, but allow us to be a thriving business so that kids and visitors can enjoy a cultural and educational experience at the Martial Arts History Museum. And let me conclude with this. I have talked with many political representatives over the last 25 years, many city mayors, many councilmen about the museum, and they all said the same thing. We have no money. That is, except this one city. When I talked to the city of Glendale, they said, let's see what we can do to have the museum here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matsuda. I would like to call on Ms. Kitty Pleasant.
Hello, I'm Kitty Pleasant, and I'm an advisory board member of the Martial Arts History Museum. And one thing that I would like to say is that is a 501(c) entity. No one gets paid, not the founder, not myself. Every single penny that comes into the museum comes into keeping the door open and paying the rents. Without signage, it's very difficult because revenues from people coming to the museum, buying things in our shop, and private donations is what keeps the doors open. And a lot of times, I'm volunteering at the front desk, the reception desk, and I get the calls of people coming in saying, I gave up because I can't find the museum. Where is it? And sometimes I tell people, try to put your GPS on walking, and it may lead you to us, and it may not. And sometimes it does. But it's very important, as that is an area for people that are coming in from out of state, out of country, to enjoy everything in the community. If they can't see our signage and know that we're there, they miss the opportunity to come in, and we miss funds that keeps the doors open. We do not have any type of operational grants. So the people that come through the door, the people that buy merchandise, the people that do private funds, and the members is what keeps us going. Do you have anything you would like to ask?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
That is all the in-person speaker cards we have. Do we have any callers on the line?
There are no callers on the line.
Okay, thank you. With that, I am going to take the case under submission. I would like to take a further look at the conditions of approval that have been recommended and a few other things. I thank you very much for your testimony and for being here today. Thank you, Mr. Lamberg. The hearing is now officially closed. Thank you.